And in terms of your own kind of aspirations, when did that really start to, kind of occur to you? Like, I mean, obviously, some people, the idea that what their parents do, becomes anathema to them, but obviously, it seemed attractive to you in one way or
Yeah,
another.
yeah.
When did that begin to sort of
I mean that to
happen?
me is a kind of a mystery of biology or something. Like I had no, it was always apparent that I was meant to be on stage and that I needed an obscene amount of attention to like survive, and so it was just always that way. And with my sister, it was a little more subtle, though there as well. Yeah. So I think it was. I mean, nurture, nature. I don't know. I think it was mostly in built in. And it's funny because recently they've been celebrating the 50th anniversary of the Judy Garland album live at Carnegie Hall,
Yes.
which I did a remake of.
We were just listening
And
to it. Yes.
and I was talking to someone about that, and they were going on and on about how she died at 47. She died at 47, and she kept getting sick, but then her voice would come back, and she'd make this huge comeback, and then she'd get sick, and then her voice would come back. And in a strange way, I said, that really to me seems like her voice was a curse. It was this kind of monstrous kind of phantom that pretended like everything was okay, and when in fact her body was just falling apart the whole time. And it is that kind of force that I mean, I don't say it's like hers, but it's that same kind of, it's not a good thing, it's not a bad thing. It's this animal essentially that needs to express itself, and it'll kill you, or it'll make you rich, or it'll make you poor, or but it just gallops at certain times, and you have to sort of hold on and hope for the best.
Well,
So
let's talk about the Judy Garland project. I mean,
yeah,
because in a certain sense, I mean, it was obviously fantastic and extremely well received, and just brilliant and witty. But obviously, as a gay man, there's an element of isn't this? I mean, could this be like a stereotype? Are you
right.
indulging in a kind of stereotype? How did you sort that out for yourself, or even was it an
Well,
issue?
I didn't have any kind of agenda when it started that I could identify. It was a gut reaction.
How did the idea for doing it?
Well, the idea came mostly because I was listening to the album a lot, and at a very very troubling time in America. It was right when we'd invaded Iraq, and and for the most part, I just hated everything American, and hated living here, and so forth. But there were these certain choice moments, and I was in LA most of the time at that point, and I would. And driving on the freeway, whatever, I'd put on that album, and it just gave me a glimpse of what was great about this country, and all that can be possible, and all the kind of hope and brilliance that is that has happened and is possible still. Let's hope. So it kind of saved my love for America, that album, and that's sort of I think that's why I did it. I don't think I was aware of it at the time necessarily, but it was this need to
Sure.
sort of reconnect with the U.S. in a weird way. So I then I did it, and to be honest, I also think that in my kind of spooky, witchy way, that I think Judy wanted it to be done only because the minute I told someone about it, like this light went off in their eyes, and then they told someone, and the light went off. It's just the idea itself kind of sprung forth once it was, unveiled, and so then the next thing you know, it was happening. I mean, it was very funny because the day after we'd done the show, I called the producer and I said to him, I have this really great idea.
Another idea?
Why don't we do like the entire Judy Garland 1961 album at Carnegie Hall? Why don't we do that? And it was sort of, we'd done it the night before, but it was still like, but just still presenting it as this new idea was like, God, that's a crazy idea. Like,
yeah, that makes no sense.
Yeah. Why? Okay. Anyways, but anyway, so that was sort of the story of that album.
Well, one of the interesting things, I mean, about you, and I think one of the reasons that you are such an alluring figure for so many people is your ability to really move across these worlds. I mean, just 5 minutes ago, you were talking about, French Canadian folk music and folk rituals and whatnot. And on the other hand, there you are, dressed and performing as Judy Garland on the stage of, Carnegie Hall.
Right.
Do you sort of, do you just see those as kind of points of continuity in your experience, or do you see that as, I mean, even just your recent show, where, the opening was, performing, All Days Are Nights, Songs for Lulu. The opening is, essentially just a song sequence, from the album. Nobody allowed to applaud between any of the numbers. Rufus very sort of elegantly dressed. And performing on stage, and then a second half that was much more casual, much easier. Just pulling songs out of your catalog and performing them. Out of your the dress now hanging, very carefully in the dressing room.
Yeah.
But it those wouldn't necessarily be lines. I think that most people.
Well, I think this sense of variety or diversity. In terms of my career it's really twofold. One is a disparity in a sense, because I always missed out on all the scenes. I wasn't in Seattle for that thing. I kind of left Montreal before Arcade Fire started. I got to the East Village in '96. Right after Jeff Buckley had died. It was this sort of. And I've always kind of, or he died, whatever. I just missed a lot of those moments, and so I kind of had to create my own vibe or something, and in a strange way, though at the time I did feel I missed out on a lot of things, or I wasn't quite hip enough, or I wasn't quite, and especially like I was signed to DreamWorks Records. Right as the entire old school record industry was collapsing, I arguably I could be one of the last artists who really had this kind of like,
spent hundreds of thousands on a record and had a big
relationship
debut.
with their record company, where you were kind of put up in this ivory tower, which I'm still paying for today. Anyway, so I just always missed everything. But then I had to do it my own way. And in the end, I think what was good about this is that I was never defined by any particular era. I was never.
You are the grunge guy.
Yeah, I was never sort of in this decade or that decade. I just kind of slipped in and threw out a couple of them now. So it. I think, I don't know. It's a strange thing of missing the party and then
making your own
party
Yes.
and saying it was really great even though nobody was there.